beneficial.
Dude, amazing. Okay. Um, what we can start with is natural numbers. And what natural numbers are, those are kind of like your counting numbers, right? One, two, three, four. Natural numbers do not include negatives. Um, Oftentimes, it's still a debate whether zero is a natural number or not between mathematicians. But we'll just tonight start with one, two, three, four, and so on, right? Boop, 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 boop.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, okay. Do you have anything to add, Kip, just with that first thing, natural numbers? Did I explain it well enough?
Um, sure, but I guess maybe you're gonna go into this more, but like, those are natural numbers, but I guess what does that represent? What does that mean? Is that where we're going now?
Um, yeah, I was going to go into uh, so how I think it would be beneficial to teach this is every natural number has a successor,
Okay.
meaning there's always a number after the one you just said. So, for example, the successor of 1 is 2, and the successor of 2 is 3, right? And we can represent this as n plus 1, okay? What n is just any natural number, right? So it could be 2, it could be 3, could be 5,000, could be a million, billion, any number, right?
Dude, a
But
billion
the
and one? Does
successor,
does a billion one have a successor?
yeah, it does, right? It would be if a billion one was n, the successor would just be the n plus 1. For example, the successor of 1, if n equals 1, then our successor is 1 plus 1, which equals 2. So we can find any successor this way. Uh, One reason why I would like it to be taught this way is because it gets you thinking, right? If you don't know what a number is called, right? If you were a little kid learning how to count and you didn't know what a billion was, you would know that there is a number that represents that, and then there would be a number after it. So just getting you thinking in a way like this. So,
Right. I mean, for me, so I've had to learn Spanish once upon in my life. Um, and
right,
something that they teach you when learning languages is you don't try to translate one word to another word, right? So if you know a word in
right,
English, you don't try to directly translate it into that word in Spanish. But what you try to do is you try to encompass the idea of what that word actually means, right? So you think of the idea
okay,
behind it. Um, and so I think the same thing holds true with numbers and math. I think math is almost right. It's a language. It's a describing language. It's something
yep,
that we've set out as humans to describe, quantities of objects in our known world. And so,
right,
right, like you're saying, we might not know what the word for a billion is, and like there are words out there for numbers that I don't know. Once we get higher and higher, I don't know the
right.
words for those, but I know those numbers
If you have
exist.
a 1 and then 4,000 zeros, what is that number going to look like, right? Like,
Right.
what would you say? But you know there's a number after that with this idea of having successors.
Right. And so the idea from the get-go is, well, like what does one actually represent, right? So what does two
Yeah,
actually represent? It means that there's a quantity of one or there's a quantity of two, right? Like you have two apples, you have two oranges, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's that quantity, right? And so I think that that's, along with the successor, that's kind of important, is it's to think about the idea behind what it actually represents, um, and not just memorizing, well, two comes after one and three comes, like you're saying, it wouldn't
Right.
matter what, it could be called whatever, right? But you
Yeah.
know what that word actually represents with an actual value.
Yes. I couldn't have said it better myself. That's awesome. So then, knowing this idea, right, we kind of have to know what this